From the second game in an epic series of games, a game that helped define an entire genre of video games, to a game that most people would consider to be a hidden gem, this is 10 games in my NES collection. So right off the bat, this is not a best of list, nothing like that. This is just 10 games in my NES collection. We're gonna take a look at, I have about 80 games left before I have the full North American licensed Nintendo Entertainment System set. I just want to look at some of these games, check them out, play them, and talk about them with you. Starting off this list, game number 151 in my NES collection came to us in 1989, and it's going to be The Guardian Legend. This one is kind of a hybrid action-adventure shoot-'em-up style of game. This one, a lot of people would consider to be a hidden gem with the internet nowadays. A lot of people know about this one, and it is a really cool game. This one has got a lot of elements from Legend of Zelda, a little bit of Metroid mixed in there, some Blaster Master vibes that we've got, and the vertical shoot-'em-up style gameplay that this one has is really cool. Our character turns from this lady robot into a spaceship, and they do a pretty good job with this right here. This one is really cool, but I feel like the cover art might have thrown a few of us off back in the day. I can remember seeing this one in the rental store and not knowing what it was and not wanting to rent it because it looked a little bit weird to me, which is really sad because I missed out on something that is super interesting and fun to play. In The Guardian Legend, we're going to be exploring through 10 different areas, trying to deal with the safety protocols so that we can set off the self-destruct device that was left behind by the planet's former inhabitants. It's nice that we have that goal right from the start. After we do a shoot 'em up style of level, we're going to move over and start exploring this labyrinth. Now, the levels in this part are the top-down adventure style of gameplay. I would strongly suggest using the select button while you're exploring in this one too, because having a map in this one is one of the many handy features it's got while we're exploring through this area. The cool part about this is that it's all kind of non-linear. I like that I can go adventuring, try to figure out what I'm doing, and then it gets kind of cut up by these shoot 'em up style of levels. And what's cool about those shoot 'em up areas, it kind of brings that gameplay into the game, makes it feel a little bit more organic, is those are actually the corridors between the areas. So it kind of feels like they're supposed to be there. You need to fly from one spot on the planet to the next, and that does make sense to me. It feels a lot less shoehorned in because of this. And the shoot 'em up levels in this one are actually cool and fun to play. And that's coming from someone that's not the best at shoot 'em up games. Now, like a lot of people, I have referred to this one as a hidden gem before, but with YouTube and the internet nowadays, it's definitely not as hidden as it used to be, but this one is still a gem all the same.
The action was blazing in Zelda. The adventure was a blast with Link. Now experience Guardian Legend. Guardian Legend, the most action-packed adventure of all time. Killer crabs, mutant lobsters, secret passages, spectacular transformations, shooting cyclops, deadly jaws, exploding anemones, devious traps, unlimited firepower, a large choice of weapons, and more action than you ever thought possible. Guardian Legend for your Nintendo Entertainment System.
Game number 152 in my NES collection is going to be Dr. Chaos. Dr. Chaos is one of the few horror games that we got on the NES. This one feels a lot like the Goonies 2 that we saw on the Nintendo Entertainment System. It is super close in the way of gameplay. It feels like maybe just not quite as polished as the Goonies 2. Dr. Chaos came to us in November of 1988 in North America. This one came to us from Marionette and was published by FCI. In this one, we're going to play as Michael Chaos as we go to our brother's mansion to try to see what's going on with him. Once we get there, we get tossed into this 2D side-scrolling adventure with an attempt to make the mansion feel like it's bigger than those 2D levels by adding some rooms that we enter and explore. I do find these rooms a little bit easier to navigate than some of the areas in the Goonies 2, but this definitely feels a lot like the Goonies 2. And these levels aren't really all that amazing. Dr. Chaos is an interesting game. It does have some really cool ideas behind it, and it is a fun game if you'd like to jump into it and just play it for what it is. Definitely be warned though, there isn't anything that's really holding back the enemies, and it can get a little bit thick with monsters at times, and that will definitely cause a slowdown to the game. You get too many monsters on the screen and it can barely keep up. You're going to be moving at a snail's pace, so definitely try to eliminate those enemies as you go so you can avoid this. Dr. Chaos is an interesting game, and it is definitely worth a try, especially because it's one of only a handful of horror games that we saw on the system. Even the words Dr. Chaos on the title screen are dripping with blood, something that back then Nintendo normally would have censored out before letting it come to North America. Is Dr. Chaos an amazing game? No, not really. Is it a cool game for what it is and what it tries to do? Tries to bring that horror genre to the NES? Definitely a cool game for that reason. Castlevania 2 Simon's Quest is game number 153 in my NES collection. This one, I feel like either you love it or you're not a big fan of it. Castlevania 2 Simon's Quest is one of the ones that did what so many other games at the time did when it came to sequels on the NES. This one is more of an action roleplay style game than what we saw in the first game in this series. This one does seem to have some similarities to Legend of Zelda 2 Adventure of Link, and to be honest with you, as someone that never really played the Castlevania games growing up as a kid, this is one that I do struggle with. Coming to North America in 1988, this one picks up right where the first game ended. After defeating Dracula in that first game, spoiler alert there, Simon has become cursed, and parts of Dracula split apart when we beat him in the first game, and now have all transformed into orbs and have been placed in different castles. Now our job is to try to track down and destroy all of these orbs, which we do gain items and abilities by doing, so I guess that kind of makes it worth it. I just don't know about this one. I think the music in this one is amazing. The sounds they use make this a very satisfying game to listen to, but the adventure we're on with all the clues can be a little bit much. At this point, this one is notorious for having random crouching that we need to do to make things happen. To crouching at the edge of some water with a blue crystal, to standing up against this wall and crouching with the red crystal for a certain amount of time to make a tornado come and take me away. Who was designing these games back then, and why did they have to make it so cryptic sometimes? This one is historic because of what it did for that Metroidvania genre, but for me, I just have a bit of a hard time with it. The day and night cycle is something that this one has that is a cool feature. It just seems to happen so often that it can really make the game drag out for me. And when it happens and I'm in one of the towns and it turns into night, I feel like I'm just sitting there waiting for it to be over so I can move on with the game. Castlevania 2 is an amazing game for what it is, and if you love it, that's awesome. It's just not my favorite game in the series.
You left him for dead in Konami's Castlevania. How foolish to presume he'd perish without leaving a curse. For now, in Simon's quest for Nintendo, fate stalks your very being, and you'll need more than clues from cowardly villagers to survive when day turns into night. But just keep telling yourself it's only a video game. It's only a...
Huh?
Dragon Warrior 4 is game number 154 in my NES collection. This is the last of the Dragon Warrior games that we saw on the NES and just part of the Dragon Quest series that they had in Japan. Now, I have talked about that name change before, so let's just talk about the game in this one. Dragon Warrior 4 is a game that didn't get the hype I think it deserved back in the day. Dragon Warrior 3 and Dragon Warrior 4 didn't sell that great in North America. Dragon Warrior 4 came out after the Super Nintendo was released here in North America, and like a lot of games that came to the NES after that next-gen console was released, it just didn't get the fanfare that it deserved. Dragon Warrior 4 is a really cool game in the series. It takes aspects from the games before and turns it into something pretty neat. This one starts us out with chapters. We start out with chapter 1 playing as Ragnar, your typical soldier type character, as we try to find some missing children. Ragnar is going to be our first main character that we're going to meet. This game splits each of the characters up into their own parts of the world map, kind of doing their own thing in their own little adventure that is tied to the main story. And we get to play as each of them as we go. Me personally, I'm a big proponent of making the viewer or the player develop an emotional connection with the characters when it comes to games, shows, or movies. If I can become emotionally invested in the character, I will want to know how their story unfolds. And that is what the first 4 chapters of this game do. So much so that when it comes to chapter 3, we're going to be playing as Thorneko. And he is a merchant living his humble life working in a weapon shop. This game literally makes us start chapter 3 playing as a shopkeeper in an RPG. We're just doing our day-to-day shopkeeper things until we decide to go off and chase adventure. What I like about this one is that I build a bond with these characters as I go, playing each of their stories in the first 4 chapters before. In the 5th chapter, they all join together and then the game flips the whole script. When I hit chapter 5, I go from playing each of these characters, they all start to come together, and then I only control the main character of the hero. All the other characters that I just played 4 chapters as, I can now only influence. They become kind of NPCs, and I think that is really, really cool. It's just something you don't expect, and after playing through all of their stories, it's a really interesting way to play that final chapter. Because of that, because of what it is, I'm really excited to have Dragon Warrior 4 in my NES collection. This is a really cool game, definitely one that's worth checking out. Game number 155 in my NES collection is gonna be TNC Surf Designs Thrilla's Surfari. Designed by Sculptured Software and published by LGN in March of 1992, Thrilla's Surfari is the second of the Town and Country surf design games that we got on the NES. This one I had never heard of back in the day. The only one I had seen was TNC Surf Design Wood and Water Rage, but this one is definitely a bit different than that one. In this one, we're going to be playing as Thrilla the gorilla, who is actually Town and Country Surf Design's mascot. We're going to be on skateboards, we're going to be surfing, and we're even going to be riding sharks in this adventure to try to save our girlfriend from the witch doctor that's kidnapped her. This one isn't the best game on the system. It's kind of hard to control, and the gameplay is really just mediocre. It is cool though because it is a TNC surf design game. I think it's really neat that they were having games made based on their brand back in the day. I feel like a lot of us might remember the first game, that Wood and Water Rage. This one I think flew under the radar for a lot of us, and honestly, it's probably not a bad thing. Ghostbusters 2 is going to be game number 156 in my NES collection. This version of Ghostbusters 2 that we saw in North America on the NES, sadly, is not the new Ghostbusters 2 that they saw in Japan and the PAL regions, which is supposed to be a really cool game. This one that we got in North America is really hard. This is another one of those games that a lot of us have never seen past the first level on. We jump into this side-scrolling level in the sewers. We're equipped with what I think must be the slime guns from the second movie, but you can't really do much with that. A lot of the enemies you can't even damage with this weapon, so definitely avoiding them is your best course of action. You can hit the green enemies, but that's about the only one you're going to do any damage to. In this one, I am forced to move left by this little spider monster that I can't kill. And one hit in this one, it is game over. You do have continues, but one hit in a game where I can't even damage a lot of these enemies definitely makes this for a rough playthrough. Now, if, and for me, that is a really big if, we make it past that first level, we get to take part in a driving level. It sounds like these levels come every second level of the game, but I had to look that up because I can't make it that far. Eventually, you do get to drive the Statue of Liberty in this side-scrolling shooter, kind of asteroids style of gameplay. And again, from what I've seen, this game doesn't get much different as we go. It's hard from the start to the finish, and after seeing the gameplay of the new Ghostbusters 2 that you can find the PAL cartridge for and play, I really wish we would have got that one in North America because it looks super cool. You can pick your characters in that one. It definitely follows the second movie of the Ghostbusters a little more closely. I think this one looks really, really cool. This is one that I might have to track down just so I can experience it. Game number 157 in my NES collection is going to be RC Pro-Am 2. This is the second one in the RC Pro-Am series. On the NES, this one is super cool because it's a 4-player game. If you have the multi-tap, you are set up, and this is a really fun one. Coming to us in December of 1992, a year after the Super Nintendo was released, this one is yet another game that a lot of us probably missed out on because of the timing of its release. Developed by Rare and published by Tradewest, RC Pro-Am 2 takes everything that was great about RC Pro-Am 1 and just makes it that much better. I really like the way this one looks. I like the way this one handles. It isn't a huge departure from the first one, but it's just enough to make it new and fresh for me. But the real bonus here for me is that multiplayer aspect. Playing this one with your friends can be a lot of fun. We level up our cars as we go. We can improve our motor, our guns, our tires, and have a really good time here. It can get pretty exciting when you fall behind in this one and suddenly, right before you fall off the screen in last place, you suddenly get rocketed ahead and it's a whole new race and everything changes again as you get pulled back up into the pack. RC Pro-Am 2 is a fun game. Definitely try to play this one with your friends if you're looking to have that multiplayer experience for a retro game night with your buddies playing on the NES. This one is definitely a must. Terminator 2 Judgment Day is a movie that a lot of us were hyped for back in the day. A lot of us are going to have memories of watching that for the very first time. So of course, it had a game on every single system. Terminator 2 Judgment Day is game number 158 in my NES collection. This is another game that came out in 1992. This one on the NES was developed by Software Creations and published by LJN. You might have noticed I've said it a couple of times here, developed by Software Creations, published by LJN. LJN was responsible for these crappy games, absolutely. But let's just be clear here, they didn't develop any of these games. They were just the publisher of a string of bad games on the NES. This one looks cool, it follows the story of the movie, but it's difficult because of how it's designed. The first level in these games, I feel like should always introduce us to how to play the game as we play through it. But in this one, the first level is just a barrage of enemies, and we have to kill every single one of them with our fists before we can move on. It's just punching over and over again, and it can get really old by the time we move into the bar scene. And then in the bar scene, we're just punching over and over again until we beat all the enemies up. Once we do get to that iconic motorcycle scene. I'm excited to see how it plays. But it's just avoiding and shooting obstacles, and then shooting the truck to avoid getting pulled backwards into it and dying. The next stage is in the hospital, and we finally have a weapon. But John Connor makes the Terminator promise not to kill anyone, so we can only shoot them in the legs. And the game doesn't get any easier or any better. There are jumps you can't make, very little ammo in general, and a lot more punching. This one is a cool game because it's based on Terminator 2. Judgment Day, I remember when that movie came out, and that gets me excited to have this one in my NES collection.
Terminator. He's all new with his meltdown bazooka, facing evil white-hot T-1000 with his arrow blaster.
You missed. Looks like T-1000 can't stand the heat.
Terminator is back.
Game number 159 in my NES collection is gonna be Knight Rider. Knight Rider is a classic franchise that so many of us will remember. From Kit the Car to David Hasselhoff and that awesome theme music for Knight Rider, this one I was excited to get on the NES. Coming to us in 1989, this is basically Rad Racer with the Knight Rider theme pasted on top of it. In this one, we're racing from city to city trying to get to these missions that we never actually get to see. It's just driving. I drive from point A to point B, the mission happens behind the scenes, and then I'm driving again. This one is an interesting one. I just wish there was more gameplay where I could actually play some of those missions. If they had gone a little further with this one and had this driving gameplay along with some really cool side-scrolling levels as we do those missions, it would take this game from fun and interesting to awesome and amazing. I do like that I can make Kit jump by pressing B. That's a different ability for a game like this. I also like that most of the levels have notable buildings and landmarks, so you know exactly where you are. In between the levels, we do actually get to upgrade Kit, add stuff to him. While we're racing, you're gonna need to watch your time and your fuel. Shooting the yellow cars will give us fuel and weapons. And at the end of the level, we do battle against a boss that is this garbage truck looking thing or a helicopter. So it does actually have bosses in it, which is kind of cool. Knight Rider is a different game. I do wish they would have swung for the fences a little more in this one, but when it comes to driving games, this one really isn't that bad. Game number 160 in my NES collection is gonna be one that I think a lot of us remember. It's gonna be Kid Icarus. Kid Icarus is a game that I feel is one of the many games on the system that just everybody knows about. From us nerdy kids to those sporty jocks, I feel like this is a title that, along with a few other ones, is one that everybody knows and remembers. Like Mario or Double Dragon, this one, for some reason, is a title that when you mention it to anyone, they remember it at the very least for the name and associate it with the NES. Kid Icarus came to us in 1987 in North America. This is one of the Adventure series games that came to the Nintendo after those black box titles. Developed by Nintendo's very own R&D 1 team, this is a side-scrolling platformer with some role-play elements mixed into it. We're going to be playing in a world called Angel Land. This land has a Greek mythology theme to it. In this one, we're trying to save the land and the light goddess from the goddess of darkness, Medusa herself. Kid Icarus is a great game on the system. This one is a cult classic style of game. The difficulty level, however, can be a little on the high side. This is the type of game that you would have wanted to get just before your summer holidays. So as a kid, you had plenty of time to play it over and over again and figure out how it worked. Kid Icarus is a really cool one because of what it does. It's got different types of levels, from vertical scrolling levels to exploration type levels to side scrolling levels. They really tried to make this one diverse for how we get to experience it. There are some really cool ideas here. Sometimes it is confusing when I go into a shop at the start of the game and I can't do anything because I can't buy anything yet, or when I'm jumping up from platform to platform in the vertical levels here and I miss a platform. This one is an older game, so it doesn't leave much room for error here. It doesn't scroll back down. The bottom of the screen is now a pit of death for you, even though I just jumped on a platform right there a second ago. Kid Icarus is a really cool game to have in my NES collection. He was in that Captain N cartoon back in the day as well. I feel like this one is just a good game all around that everyone's gonna remember. I'm really excited to have it in my NES collection.